Okay, it's Nugget time, and this one's short and sweet. And I'm not doing a joke, and there's no book recommendation at the end. Everyone's bitching about reading too much, so I'm quitting with the books. Now, just no book recommendation in this nugget. Now, I need to give a shout out to Chris Wagner, too, in this nugget, because I stole the quote we're using in this from him. And on a side note, many of you wonder why I say Merry Christmas year round, and that's because I stole that from Chris Wagner too. Chris Wagner's a flat out stud. He's a friend, he's a mentor, I look up to him, and I love this little quote that he gave me that I actually use all the time, so I'm gonna share that with you guys today. It's kind of creepy, but a lot of thought and study has gone into what people regret most about their life when they're on their deathbed. And you can Google this stuff, and there's quite a few different answers out there on what people do regret. And frankly, some of it's pretty profound stuff and fairly interesting. So I would recommend checking that stuff out. Very wise things to learn from. But one big one that pops up regularly for people on their deathbed and that really stands out to me is worrying about crap. One way people put this while they're on their deathbed is, I wish I hadn't spent so much time worrying about things that never happened. I think I've done another nugget on this topic and talked about some of this and what a waste of time worrying is. But the bottom line is most of what people worry about never happens, period. And it's a crazy number too. Like 90% of the stuff that we worry about never happens. And whatever's left to worry about that may happen or does happen, you have no control over most of that stuff either anyway. So the fact of the matter is there's very little to worry about in life that will actually happen, and most of it you can't do shit about anyway. So you may as well not worry about it. And you may not know this now, but you will on your deathbed. So my challenge to you is don't wait till you're about dead before you figure this one out. There are some things in life that you don't want to figure out on your own, and this is one of them. Take the advice of the people that already spent their entire life worrying about stuff and stop now. It's madness to worry about everything all the time, and so many of you are doing this. I try not to worry about anything ever. Like really. I do worry sometimes about stuff, but it's rare, and it's very rare because I've made a habit of not worrying about it. And I think maybe it's a little bit of a freaky habit. I know some people think that it's unhealthy that I don't worry about stuff all the time, but I don't agree with that. And I think you should do the same thing too. I'm sure that this stuff makes sense too on the surface, but it probably doesn't sound very easy to not worry about stuff. Hell, for some of you, it probably sounds impossible to not worry about stuff, but it isn't impossible. You have to practice, practice, practice. So I think that's two newy references in the last few nuggets. But if you follow the nuggets on a regular basis, or you work with me on mindfulness or mindset stuff, you know that these things are all just habits. You can get in the habit of being a worry wart, and you can get in the habit of not worrying about things. It just takes practice like anything else to do either. And some of you have been practicing the skill of worrying for a long time, and you are really, really good at it. So to change that, you just practice the skill of not worrying. And in the beginning, it takes deliberate prefrontal cortex cognitive effort. And what does that mean? It means you have to focus consciously on not worrying all the time until you can make it subconscious. You have to catch yourself when you're worrying, and you have to let that go. It's like Chris Wagner says. His saying is, don't borrow worry. And so many people on a regular basis go into their brain, they charge out into the future and look for or make up some scenario of what could possibly go wrong. And then they drag that thought back into the present moment so they can worry about it right now. That's called borrowing worry. You are borrowing worry from the future. Stop it. When you think about it, on the surface, it's just stupid and brain damaging. Literally, it's brain damaging to be borrowing all this worry. And frankly, if you get into the habit of doing this, there's a never-ending supply of shit to worry about. And we can do it like right now. What if someone on my staff quits and creates a ton of extra work for all of us? What if my truck doesn't start tonight? Well, what if one of my kids gets into a car accident tonight because the roads are slick? What if that lump behind my ear is cancer? What if the economy tanks because of coronavirus? What if Bernie Sanders is elected president? Now that's some scary shit. What if the Huskers aren't bowl eligible again this year? What if? Who really gives a crap? What if that stuff did happen? You would figure it out when you got there, just like you have with everything else in your entire life. Remember though, most, and I mean most of the things that you worry about never happen. And you can't do anything about them anyway, usually. So stop doing that to yourself. If you haven't figured it out yet, you will find that whatever you're looking for or thinking about is out there. Whatever you want is there. There's plenty of it. If you're looking for things to worry about, they're there. If you're looking for things to be grateful for, they're there as well. And both of them are in abundance. So make your default system to not worry. When your mind starts charging into the future to find crap to worry about, just notice that it's happening and then stop it. I like to change the thought to something I'm grateful for. So if you start worrying about something, notice it, catch it, stop it, and then replace it with something that you're grateful for possibly. So let's wrap up. When you worry about stuff, it makes you feel like crap. Your sympathetic nervous system lights up, bad chemicals invade your body and do things like weaken your immune system, drain you of energy, and shorten your lifespan. Worse, you get addicted to these feelings and they get reinforced and it becomes a negative feedback loop. Who wants to feel like crap and die too soon? And then while you're going to be on your deathbed dying too soon, you'll be regretting the whole experience anyway, because you'll realize at that moment that you didn't need to worry about all this stuff. So don't do that to yourself. Stop borrowing worry and focus on enjoying your life and all the things that you could be grateful for. And one easy thing to do is use the phrase, don't borrow worry. That's really stuck with me. It's been very helpful for me. I use it all the time on myself and others to remind me and them to not get in the habit of worrying. So just use that simple little phrase, don't borrow worry, make a habit of that, and get out of the habit of worrying and go have a great week.